Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how I polish my stainless trim for my Tri-5 Chevys here. This is, a lot of times I'll just do it by hand, but when I was in a hurry trying to finish up the 55 here several months back on the stainless stuff, I tried this and it actually ended up working out pretty awesome. So I'm going to run you guys through this. What I've got here is of course this is a Mac Tools, but any of them will work, but it says air polisher, and I basically use it for the little small buffing pads to buff small areas on the car, touch-ups and that kind of stuff. But anyway, I've got a little Velcro pad in it, and I'm not sure what size this is. I think it was probably a 3-inch, and I've cut it down a little bit. But anyway, what I do, this is just a good budget thing to do, is I get on eBay, and there is a guy on there that sells 6-inch Velcro back DA paper. And he sells it in groups, and it's very, very inexpensive. It's like 15 bucks or something. I don't remember what the seller's name was, but you can find it. You can also, at the top, it has a selection you have to make, and you can pick your group of paper. Whether you want it more harsh or even finer than this. But anyway, he sells a grouping of paper, and it's 5 sheets of 600, 5 sheets of 800, 5 sheets of 1000. I thought there was 12, but I can't find any 1200, so apparently I didn't get any 12. It just went to 15. So anyway, you can pick that grouping of 5, and I think I doubled it or tripled it the last time I ordered some of this during the summer. And then some of it is just what I had, or it's from O'Reilly's. But anyway, this sandpaper, some of it says, you can see on it, it says made in Germany, and some of it says Stark is the name brand, and then some of it, I can't, Sunmite. So it's kind of a mixture. It's not a grouping of all one brand, it's just a grouping of paper, but it does the job. Anyway, usually on stainless steel, when you take the stainless trim off your car for restoration, do yourself a favor. When you take one piece of stainless off, use some blue painter's tape and cover that stainless on the face side. Just put you some blue painter's tape on there, and then store it away, unless you're going to go at it right away. You know what I mean? The reason is, I've seen it for years. I'm guilty of it myself back when I was younger. You know, strip a car apart, especially a 50s car that has tons of stainless steel trim. You'll take all of the trim off the car and just throw it in a pile, or stick it together and tape it up like the 2 flippers together, and then your 2 long quarter moldings, you'll tape them together. Stainless steel trim will scratch the fire out of itself. Like all these little sharp corners and edges that are sharp can scratch the trim, and all it does is make more work for you. And my car in particular, this one, the guy delivered it to me, and he had to come from a long ways away. I don't remember how many miles it was. I want to say it was a 12-hour, 15-hour trip or something for him. But anyway, all of the stainless trim was thrown in the car in a big pile in the trunk, and there was some inside in the cabin as well. But anyway, by the time it got here, from the vibration of being on the car trailer and going over big bumps and potholes and everything, some of the trim was so bad, deep scratched, that it would have taken hours and hours and hours of work to repair it. So I ended up just, some of the parts I replaced. I just bought some other used pieces. But anyway, I'm going to show you here the trim, and I just kind of go in through here and I start looking at it. Now this piece here in particular, I'd actually, like last summer when I took this flipper apart, I took one flipper apart, not all of it, but I slid the other part away from it. And I went in here and I started using my sander on it, on some of the spots, to get some of the deep scratches out. What I like to start off with is 800 grit. It seems like with this sander, anything lower, it takes a little bit longer to get the scratches out of it, the sanding scratches. But if the scratches are too deep, you have to go more harsh. So I'll at that point go to 600 or even 500 if they're really, really bad. Now if you have stainless trim and it has a little ding in it, all you do basically is knock that out from the back side. Use a metal dolly. Do not put this on wood and try to knock that dent out into the wood, because wood is soft, it'll give, and you'll end up with a really high spot. And then by the time you're done filing it and sanding it, you're going to have a really thin spot. So anyway, this thing, if you can see, if you try to hold it up there and get it in the light, you can see all kinds of scratches that go all kinds of different directions on this thing. So I don't know that this has any damage in it. I do see a couple little tiny high spots, but those don't really bother me that much. But anyway, what I'm going to do is go through here, and I'm going to start out with the 800 grit, and I'm going to hit that whole thing with that. Then I'm going to go to 1000, then I'm going to go to 1500. Now after I'm done with the 1500 on this, I then go to regular sheets of sandpaper, 1500. I do the 15 over the 15, and I will sand that one direction. And what that does is basically, once you start sanding one direction, you can see if you have any of those little swoops from this being a orbital sander. So anyway, do the 1500 one way until they're, it looks good, and it really doesn't take that long to hand sand it to see that they're gone. And then at that point I'll go to 2000, and then I'll go to 2500, and it doesn't take that long to do this. But you don't have to sit there for 30 minutes with one grade of paper. This pretty much gets all the hard work done for you right off the bat. But the higher you go in the paper, the faster this will polish. And I can tell you, by the time you're to 1500 and even the 2000, it already almost looks kind of polished. And then by the time you hit it to the buffing wheel, it's chrome real quick. Like, it gets real super shiny stainless real quick, like chrome. So anyway, let me get these out of the way. Kind of try to do this in real time, so this is going to be a long video, but I can show you what it's like to sand like this. Now there's all kinds of pros out there that do stainless steel trim repair and polish and all that kind of crap. They're going to have a different way of doing this, and my way is not the correct way. The fact is, everybody's different when they do something, and anytime someone asks me how I do something, that's how I do it. It doesn't matter how somebody else does it. You know what I mean? I'm not them and they're not me. I'm going to do it my way with what I have here. So now that compressor is going to kick on, and there's nothing I can do about it. So you're just going to have to live with the air compressor, because once this thing kicks on, it really doesn't shut off, because my compressor is extremely wore out, and it takes a long time to build up pressure anymore. So anyway, I'm going to go in here with 800 and see if I can knock this out. I might just do one little area right here. That's what I'm going to do. That way the video won't be super long. I'm going to do a little area right in here, and or down here. Might do this area down here. Now that thing will get loaded real quick. See that? I'll just run it on my jeans, or you can run it on a rag or whatever. But I do see a high spot or two in there. Okay, that's the 8. Now I'm going to go to 1000. I put all that stuff right behind the camera where it's real hard to get to. That was brilliant. And since I don't have any 12, I'm going to have to go straight to 15, and I'll just go over it a little bit longer, and hopefully that'll do the trick here. Alright, that was to the 1500 there. But anyway, that That'll kind of give you an idea. Now I'm just going to do this little like 3 or 4 inch area right here on the top side, just for demonstration purposes only. So now I'm going to take some 1500 grit. Now here's what I do. Another thing, everybody's different. When I wet sand and buff my paint jobs, that sandpaper that I use, I throw in a little container or a box or whatever. And this stuff is perfect for doing your stainless trim, because I can pull out a piece and you can see where I had my little block right there, but all this paper right here on this edge is still new. So I'll take scissors and I'll cut out the good stuff and use the pieces by hand, and I'm not wasting, full sheets of paper. So this is a piece I've got cut out. I've got 1500, 2000, and 25 right there. So right now I'm just going to take the 15 over the 1500, and I'm basically just trying to get out the swipe lines from the sander. And if you notice you still got some scratches and that type of stuff, you need to go back and do it some more with the air sander. And I've already got a scratch in here I can see that did not come out now that I'm doing one way, and I can kind of see into the trim. I've got a scratch right here, and it is not out of there. And if you try to take a scratch out by hand with sandpaper, you will be there for days trying to get it out. So that did not come out. I don't know if you can see that. There's a scratch right there going this way. So that did not come out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it again. But I'll just try the 800 again. I was getting ready to try the 6, but I think I'm going to try the 8. That might have got it. I just didn't get aggressive enough with it, sanding it. So now I've got the 1000 on there. The 1200 not having that might be what's hurting me, because with the other stuff I had 1200. But I don't have any, so I'm going to have to make do with what I got. So you can see on the pants there, that black, that's how much stuff's coming off of that. Okay, so now back to the 1500 here. Got to do that again. It already looks shiny when I put the light in it. Now when you're high up on these grades of paper, sometimes you'll be sanding on them and you'll see these little fine little scratches here and there, and don't worry about those, because those will polish out. But it's those lone, deep scratches are the ones you really got to watch for. Alright, so 1500 one way there. Now I'm going to go up here to 2000. And I always do this dry, because doing it wet, it just makes a big mess, and sometimes there's water and residue on there and you can't see. To me, doing it dry is just a little bit faster. Now I'm going to go to 2500. And you can already see how it looks pretty polished right there. So now let me adjust the camera up here. Now on my bench grinder over here, which is too high of RPM to really polish stainless steel, but that's all I've had all my life is regular old bench grinders, and I've just made it work. So I have a wheel on here from Harbor Freight. This is called a loose buff because it's not stitched. It's like layers. And I don't know if it's muslin or cotton. It's just straight from Harbor Freight. I don't even think it said on the package But anyway, it's pretty soft. Now, professionals that polish stainless, they'll go through all different grades of rouges and different wheels, from sewn to loose and everything else. I go straight to the green rouge with a loose buff, especially if you go through that much finish work by hand, and it just does. Alright guys, so repositioned the camera and put a fresh battery in the crazy thing. So anyway, so I've got quite a bit of stuff here that I've bought in the past. You know, different wheels, different rouges, and all kinds of stuff. And I kind of come up with the way I'm doing it now. Just to me, it's a heck of a lot faster, and would technically save more money because you're not going through all these other rouges and stuff. But I'll just get to it. So something that I learned a long time ago that I think is pretty important to pass on is the guy that taught me how to polish stainless steel for old cars. Really, really good at it. He taught me that anytime you go to clean your buffing wheel, it's a good idea to use the same exact material to clean the wheel with that you're polishing. In other words, if you're polishing stainless, you want to clean that buffing wheel with stainless. If you tried cleaning this with like a screwdriver that's just, you know, steel and it has a coating on it, that can contaminate that wheel. And what it does is when you're trying to polish stainless with a contaminated wheel, it never does get that mirror finish. It just looks kind of dull, and that's the reason, is the wheel's contaminated. So anyway, you definitely, if you're going to polish something aluminum, don't use the same wheel, use a different wheel. So it's a good idea to keep them in a Ziploc bag, which this one's been left on here for a while and it's covered in dust and stuff, so I need to clean the crap out of it. What I've got here is an old headlight ring that was damaged really bad, and I ended up just folding it up, and I've taken 10 snips to it and I've cut it and then bent these out with pliers, and they're already rounding off from me using it so much. But anyway, this is a stainless steel headlight ring and it has sharp edges, so that'll get in there and clean that wheel really, really good. And it's just redneck way of doing it, you know what I mean? But anyway, the rouge that I'm going to be using is green. Green is common for stainless steel. You know, the professionals will go through different wheels and different rouges and work their way up. But I usually go through pretty far on the paper and then just immediately go to buff. Soon as that hits that, it just automatically makes a mirror shine. So I'll show you. Wipe this off here. I probably need to get a better rag, because this one is, yeah, I'm gonna get a better rag. That one's been laying out here in the dust. Okay. Okay, so that's, I just did this raised section right here from there to about there, but I mean that's a pretty good, just a fast way to buff to get a nice mirror finish. Alright guys, so here is one flipper, the two halves, completely sanded and polished, and I brought it out here. I got fingerprints on it, but that is it right there. turned out really, really nice, man. Looks like a mirror. So anyway, I have the door piece from the other one. I just have to finish fine sanding it a little bit more, and then it'll be ready to polish. And then that piece there, I've got a couple old dings to fix in the other one and then polish it. But man, I'm happy with that. It looks great. Thanks for watching.